The first light of Manhattan creeps through the glass walls of the Park Avenue penthouse. It's 4:13 a.m. The elevator hums, and Adrian Cole, tall, handsome, and carelessly drunk, steps in, his tuxedo shirt half unbuttoned, reeking of Dior Sauvage. The marble floor reflects his swagger. He thinks he's coming home. But on the kitchen island, under the soft glow of pendant lights, sits a manila folder beside a silver Mont Blanc pen and an iPhone recording light blinking red. Next to it, a mug of cold chamomile tea, and across from that, Hannah Leighton, 6 months pregnant, her hand resting over the swell of her belly. "Long night?" she asks, voice steady, eyes hollow from tears that have already been cried. Adrian freezes. "What's this drama at 5 in the morning?" He smirks, tossing his Mercedes key fob on the counter. Hannah nods toward the folder. "It's not drama, it's a divorce." He laughs, thinking she's bluffing. "You're hormonal, Hannah. Go back to bed." But she doesn't blink. "You came home from the plaza, Adrian. Room 504. Sloane Hart checked in under your name." Adrian's smile fades. "You've been spying on me?" "No," she replies, sliding her phone across the counter. "The concierge sent the video by mistake. You should thank him for labeling your mistress as Mrs. Cole. It made things easier." He watches the footage, the two of them, tipsy, tangled in an elevator kiss. The sound of his own laugh echoes through the kitchen. His jaw tightens. "That means nothing." "Maybe," Hannah says softly, "but it means everything to me." The baby shifts beneath her palm. She steadies her breath. "Take your things. You'll find a garment bag by the door. I've already changed the locks." His voice hardens. "You can't just throw me out of my own home." "This isn't a home," she says, standing slowly, her belly leading the movement. "It's a stage, and your part's over." He starts to argue, but two uniformed building guards step in, summoned quietly by Walter, the elderly concierge who's seen too many scenes like this. Adrian's temper flares. "You'll regret this, Hannah." "I already did," she replies. "Every time I believed you'd change." As the guards escort him toward the elevator, he turns, desperate for control. "You think anyone will believe you? You're just—" She interrupts, her tone final. "A woman who stopped begging." The elevator doors slide shut, cutting off his face mid-scowl. The silence that follows is heavier than grief. Hannah exhales, sets her hand on her belly, and whispers, "You're safe now." Through the window, the Manhattan skyline glows like 1,000 witnesses. Snow begins to fall, soft, forgiving, and cold. And somewhere in that quiet dawn, a woman becomes her own rescue. The morning after the storm smells like disinfectant and rain. Hannah sits in a white examination room at Lenox Hill Hospital, her fingers tracing the soft paper beneath her. Dr. Asha Patel, gentle but firm, adjusts the ultrasound probe. The rhythmic thump of the baby's heartbeat fills the room like a drum of defiance. Hannah's eyes close. She lets it echo through her chest, anchoring her to something alive, something still hers. Dr. Patel studies the monitor. "Your baby's strong, but your stress levels aren't. You need stability, Hannah. No confrontations, no high tension." Hannah forces a small laugh. "I think I reached my lifetime quota of tension last night." The doctor offers a sympathetic smile. "You're not the first woman to rebuild from betrayal, but you have to protect your baby and yourself. Surround yourself with people who believe you." Those words stick like truth nails in her chest. People who believe her. She nods, clutching the sonogram printout like proof of life. Outside, the city is cruelly beautiful. Snow melts on the sidewalks of Park Avenue. Hannah steps into a waiting Uber. The street's still sleepy. Her phone buzzes. Lena Brooks, her best friend and lawyer. "Did you do it?" Lena's voice is half worried, half proud. "I handed him the papers," Hannah says quietly. He laughed. "Let him laugh. The court won't." At Lena's apartment near Central Park, warmth replaces the sterile hospital air. It smells like cinnamon and strong coffee. A half-open Amazon box sits by the door, filled with case files and baby books. Hannah drops her bag beside it, exhaustion finally hitting. She showers slowly, scrubbing off perfume that isn't hers, tears mixing with the water. When she emerges, Lena has printed forms ready, bank statements, account numbers, joint assets. Hannah's wedding ring glints briefly before she slides it off and sets it beside her MacBook. Lena looks up. "Do you want me to file today?" Hannah hesitates, staring at the ring. "Yes, before I change my mind." They spend hours combing through receipts. Hannah finds the Plaza Hotel bill from last night, charged to their joint card. He didn't even bother to hide it, she mutters. Good, Lena says. Easier for me to prove marital waste. Hannah's stomach growls. They eat takeout soup in silence. Outside, sirens echo faintly. Lena finally breaks the quiet. You're doing the right thing, Han. You're choosing peace. Hannah nods, but her throat burns. It doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like dying. That's because the part of you that kept forgiving him is dying, Lena replies softly. Let it. Hannah wipes her eyes and exhales. She opens her iPhone Notes app and creates a new folder titled Rebuild. Under it, she types, Housing Prenatal Care, Legal Work. Then she adds one more line. Don't look back. Her phone pings. A message from an unknown number. We need to talk, Adrian writes, for the baby's sake. She blocks him without reading further. For the baby's sake, she thinks, means for his control. Later that night, Hannah stands by Lena's window overlooking Central Park. Snowflakes drift under the lamplight. She holds the sonogram against the glass. The reflection of her belly lines up perfectly with the tiny outline in the photo. She whispers, It's just us now, little one. Asha's words return to her mind. Surround yourself with people who believe you. Lena's laughter from the other room, the faint hum of the city, the warmth of home. They're not victory yet, but they're proof of survival. She sets the sonogram next to her Tiffany bracelet on the nightstand and turns off the light. Outside, Manhattan hums on, unaware that a quiet revolution has just begun inside one small apartment. Morning sunlight spills across Lena's kitchen table, glinting off stacks of documents and cold Starbucks cups. Hannah scrolls through her phone, every motion deliberate, like a surgeon cutting into something rotten. Her heart pounds, not from fear, but from clarity. Lena leans over her shoulder. Found anything useful? Hannah's thumb stops on a familiar blonde face. Sloan Hart, PR executive, 26. A woman who built her career spinning false stories for the rich. There it is, a boomerang from the plaza's palm court, champagne glasses clinking at 2:07 a.m. The caption reads, To the man who knows what I deserve. In the corner of the frame, a blurred figure with Adrian's unmistakable cufflinks, engraved silver, custom-made for their wedding anniversary. Hannah's breath catches. He gave her my anniversary gift. Lena's eyes narrow. Perfect. That's traceable. Those cufflinks were insured under your name. Hannah nods numbly, saving the post, documenting every timestamp. Her hand trembles as she screenshots the next post. Sloan flaunting a Cartier love bracelet. The same one Hannah once wanted. The one Adrian said was too expensive for a stay-at-home wife. The humiliation hits like static under her skin. Lena's voice stays calm, steady. We can use this. It proves the affair timeline started before you filed. That's adultery and misuse of shared funds. But Hannah barely hears. Her mind drifts back to the plaza. The chandeliers, the gold-trimmed mirrors, the laughter echoing from its marble halls. She once planned charity galas there, greeting guests with grace and warmth. That same ballroom was now the backdrop for her betrayal. A new message lights up her screen. Unknown number. You don't have to fight me, Hannah, Adrian writes. You'll regret making this public. Her fingers hover over the keyboard before she deletes it. No response is a response. Then, another buzz, this time from Instagram. A direct message from Julian Mercer. Hannah blinks. She hasn't heard that name in over a year. Julian was one of her biggest clients, a venture capitalist known for quiet generosity and ruthless business sense. They'd worked together on a cancer charity gala. Adrian used to mock him, calling him the billionaire monk. Julian's message is short. I saw the news. Are you safe? Hannah hesitates, unsure how to answer. She finally types, working on it. Seconds later, the typing bubble appears. If you need a place to work or breathe, I owe you. No press, just a door that locks. She stares at the screen, overwhelmed by how kindness feels heavier than cruelty. Lena looks over. Who's that? An old client, Hannah says. Maybe an old friend. Take the help, Lena advises. Even warriors need a fortress. The rest of the day passes in a haze of screenshots and printed evidence. Hannah builds a folder titled Timeline of Betrayal. Every file has a date, a receipt, a location. She includes Walter's statement from the building. He saw Adrian bringing a young woman in around 4 a.m. The pattern is undeniable. By midnight, Lena yawns. We're getting somewhere. Tomorrow I'll draft the affidavit. Hannah nods, exhausted. She picks up the Cartier photo again, zooming in on Sloane's bracelet. Her mind flickers between anger and pity. She doesn't know yet. Hannah murmurs. Know what? Lena asks. That he'll do to her what he did to me. They always do. The city outside hums with distant sirens. Snow turns to sleet, streaking down the window pane like silver tears. Hannah shuts off her phone, the glow fading from her face. Her reflection stares back, tired but awake. For the first time in years, she feels something like power. Not from revenge, but from truth. And somewhere in Manhattan, the mistress posts another picture, not realizing she just became Exhibit A. The next morning, the world moves on as if nothing happened. But for Adrian Cole, the whispers have started. At the glossy headquarters of his Park Avenue investment firm, the air smells of espresso and tension. His assistant greets him with eyes that dart away too quickly. On the mahogany table in the conference room, the Wall Street Journal lies open, its gossip column casually mentioning a senior partner caught in a marital scandal linked to the Plaza Hotel. No names, but everyone knows. Damage control, Adrian mutters, adjusting his Rolex and straightening his tie. Across town, Hannah wakes up to a quieter battlefield. The apartment Lena lent her is small but bright, with Central Park peeking through the window. She eats oatmeal she barely tastes, her phone buzzing with updates from Lena. Adrian's firm knows, Lena texts. This could help us. Hannah's hands shake slightly as she picks up her MacBook Pro from the coffee table. The screen flickers to life, revealing folders she hasn't opened in months, contracts, invoices, event photos. She scrolls through memories of nights where she worked 18-hour days crafting experiences for billionaires, CEOs, and celebrities. Adrian used to call it a hobby, but in one old document Hannah finds something better than nostalgia: proof. A file titled Cole Capital Gala 2022 shows that her client network had been used to secure major investors for Adrian's firm. She had arranged introductions, negotiated tables, even managed the charity angle that boosted his reputation. She prints everything. Each page feels like reclaiming a piece of herself. By afternoon, Lena arrives, dropping her handbag beside the couch. If we can show that you contributed to his professional success, it strengthens your case for asset division, she explains. Hannah nods, flipping through spreadsheets. He always said I didn't bring income, but I brought every investor he bragged about. Exactly, Lena says, smiling for the first time all day. You were unpaid PR. That's contribution. Meanwhile, Adrian faces a silent ambush of side eyes. His partners exchange looks across the glass boardroom. The compliance officer, a sharp woman named Diane, slides a document across the table. We need to confirm your use of the corporate Amex last weekend. He forces a grin. Business dinner. Diane doesn't blink. At the Plaza Hotel? With a PR executive from Heart Communications? The silence burns. Adrian clears his throat. Personal matter. I'll reimburse it. The partners murmur. One says quietly, keep it quiet, Adrian. The firm's image can't take another scandal. He nods, smiling through clenched teeth, but inside rage churns. Hannah's fingerprints are all over this. That night, Hannah sits under a warm lamp, reading through bank statements. Her baby kicks gently, a small reminder of life within chaos. She whispers, "We're getting there, little one." Asha, her doctor, calls to check in. Your blood pressure's high. Have you tried meditation or journaling? I'm trying spreadsheets, Hannah says dryly, making the doctor laugh. Whatever keeps you calm, Asha replies softly. Just remember, every minute you choose peace, you're protecting two hearts, not one. After the call, Hannah looks out at the city lights. For the first time, she doesn't feel small against the skyline. She feels anchored. In the distance, Adrian stares at his own reflection in the boardroom glass, realizing the empire he built on lies is starting to crack, quietly, perfectly. And as Manhattan sleeps, two wars unfold, one in court documents, the other in reputation. Only one of them will survive both. Before the betrayal, there was light. Before the plaza, before the lies, there was laughter echoing through a Fifth Avenue ballroom, where fairy lights dripped like stars, and a young woman in a navy dress ran the show with grace. That woman was Hannah Layton, 25 at the time, smart, confident, her headset buzzing with cues. Table 7 needs champagne, she'd said back then, voice crisp, commanding, alive. And that's when she first saw Adrian Cole, leaning against the marble bar, tuxedo perfect, smile dangerous. He wasn't famous yet, just charming. Their eyes met through the noise. He raised his glass to her and said, "You run this place like it's yours." Hannah smiled. For tonight, it is. He followed her around that night, asking questions between guests, watching the way she handled chaos with poise. You don't miss a detail, he said. That's rare. And for Hannah, who'd always been the woman fixing things in the background, being noticed felt like sunlight. 6 months later, they were inseparable. Adrian had just landed his first big client, bragging about the future. They'd sit at the River Cafe overlooking the Manhattan skyline, talking about someday. He promised a house, children, and a life where she'd never have to hustle again. You deserve to rest, he'd said one night, sliding a small Tiffany box across the table. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet. No more working 16-hour events. Let me take care of you. Hannah laughed softly, tears in her eyes. I'm not good at resting. Then learn, he said, kissing her hand. That was the beginning of her undoing. Over time, the man who'd admired her strength began to resent it. He'd roll his eyes when she talked about her clients. You still think those people care about you? They're rich, Han. They use you to make their events run, then forget your name. When she tried to return to work after their wedding, he discouraged her. You don't need to. My income's enough for both of us. The decision felt like love back then. It felt like safety. But safety can be a slow suffocation. Then came the pregnancy, their miracle. At first, he was thrilled, buying tiny Dior baby shoes and reading parenting books at night. But as her belly grew, his patience thinned. Don't stress the baby, he'd snap whenever she cried. He began staying late at work. Investor dinners, he'd say. You wouldn't understand. She stopped asking questions when the lies became obvious. Silence was easier than humiliation. The last time she'd felt genuinely happy was the night they drove down the Manhattan Bridge, the skyline glittering like a promise. She'd filmed it on her iPhone, his hand on the steering wheel, his laughter filling the car. I could live forever in this city, she'd whispered. He'd said, with me, you will. Now months later, she replays that video. The laughter sounds like someone else's life. She mutes it and watches in silence. From the kitchen, Lena calls out, You okay? Just deleting memories, Hannah says softly. She clicks delete and closes the app. The video disappears, but the ache doesn't. For a moment, she looks out at the skyline again, same city, same lights. But this time, she's the one holding the steering wheel. And somewhere in her chest, a quiet vow forms. If he built her cage from promises, she'll build her freedom from the truth. The night stretches long and silent. Manhattan's lights flicker against the window, but inside Lena's guest room, Hannah sits cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by papers, receipts, and memories she doesn't want anymore. Her eyes are swollen, her lips cracked from crying, and her phone glows beside her, offering distraction, or maybe destruction. She opens a prenatal forum on her iPhone, scrolling through posts from other mothers about love, betrayal, and survival. The screen blurs as she reads, You are not broken. You are becoming. It hits deeper than she expects. She saves the quote in her notes. The baby moves, a small flutter, like a tap from the inside, reminding her she isn't alone. Hannah whispers, I know, sweetheart, I know. She stands slowly, her back aching, and walks to the mirror. The woman staring back isn't the same one who used to glow under chandeliers and laughter. Her face is tired, her belly round and heavy. But beneath the exhaustion, there's something new. Something awake. Still, the fear creeps in. Bills, court, gossip. How will she raise a child alone in a city that never waits? She grabs her Kindle from the nightstand and scrolls through Women Who Run with the Wolves. A highlighted passage catches her eye. A woman's soul does not die, even when buried under years of silence. Her throat tightens. That's her. Buried, but not gone. Then, as if the universe wants to test her, her phone buzzes again. Adrian, she shouldn't look, but she does. The message is a picture of the two of them, smiling, taken last Christmas at the Hamptons. Beneath it, he's typed, You'll ruin our family if you keep this up. Think about the baby. Her blood runs cold. The manipulation, the guilt, it's all the same language he's always used. She types a reply, then deletes it. She tries again, deletes that too. Finally, she sets the phone face down and breathes through the trembling. The baby kicks harder this time, as if protesting. That's right, she whispers. No more begging. Her eyes land on a small jewelry box on the dresser. Inside is the Tiffany bracelet Adrian gave her the night he proposed. She picks it up, turning it in her hand. The silver catches the city light, and for a fleeting second, She remembers the version of herself who believed in that promise. She places the bracelet against her belly, whispering, "You deserve better than lies." Then she sets it on the table, not as a memory, but as evidence. She opens her laptop, determined now. If Adrian thinks she's weak, he's wrong. She logs into their shared financial portal, checking accounts he thought she'd forgotten. Within minutes, she finds it. Wire transfers, dinners, hotel bills, and finally, a retainer payment to a divorce attorney dated 3 days before she found out about Sloan. He planned everything. Her hands shake so hard she nearly drops the mouse. "He wanted to trap me first," she whispers, voice breaking. Tears stream silently, but beneath them burns something fierce. Anger, yes, but not the kind that destroys. The kind that rebuilds. She opens a new spreadsheet and titles it War Journal. Line by line, she lists every date, every dollar, every lie. She copies documents into a folder labeled for Lena. Then she sets a timer on her phone for 3 minutes, just like Asha taught her. She allows herself to cry, full and unrestrained. When the timer dings, she wipes her face and exhales. In that moment, Hannah Leighton isn't broken anymore. She's sharpening. She whispers to the empty room, "He thinks I'm done. He has no idea." Outside, Manhattan glows like molten steel, cold, bright, and ready to forge her into something unbreakable. And somewhere, miles away, Adrian sleeps soundly, unaware that the woman he underestimated has just begun to fight back. Snow flurries dance along the edges of Central Park when Julian Mercer re-enters Hannah's life. She's walking out of her lawyer's office, exhaustion clinging to her bones, when her phone buzzes with a simple text. "I have an offer. No pressure. Just a safe space." Julian's name glows on the screen like a forgotten light. The last time she saw him was 2 years ago at a charity gala she produced, a night Adrian nearly ruined by showing up drunk and jealous. Julian had handled it with quiet grace, steering Adrian away before things got ugly. Now, out of nowhere, he's offering help. Hannah hesitates, thumb hovering above the keyboard. Pride wars with practicality. But then the baby shifts, and she feels that small reminder of purpose. She types back, "I could use safe." An hour later, a black Escalade pulls up in front of Lena's building. The driver, a middle-aged woman named Rosa, smiles kindly as she opens the door. "Mr. Mercer asked me to make sure you're comfortable, ma'am." The ride through Manhattan feels like traveling between worlds. The chaos of taxis, the blur of neon, the occasional glimpse of wealth that once felt like home. Rosa stops in front of the Ritz-Carlton. Hannah hesitates. "This is his temporary office," Rosa says. "He's sponsoring an event tonight." Inside, the lobby smells of citrus and cedar. Crystal chandeliers shimmer overhead. Hannah feels out of place, tugging her coat tighter over her belly. But when she steps into the private suite, the atmosphere shifts. The lights are soft, the air warm, and Julian Mercer stands by the window, hands in pockets, watching the city fade into dusk. He turns. "You look tired." "Accurate," she replies, trying to smile. "Sit," he says gently. No cameras, no gossip, no expectations. Hannah sinks into the armchair, feeling her shoulders drop for the first time in weeks. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," Julian says simply. "You helped me rebuild my company's image when no one else would. You were kind when my life was falling apart. Call this a debt repaid." She looks at him carefully. There's no pity in his eyes, only respect. That difference makes her throat tighten. "I'm not sure what comes next," she admits. "I have documents, witnesses, maybe a case, but I'm scared." Julian nods. "Fear means you still have something worth protecting. You're not weak, Hannah. You're exhausted. And that's different." His words land heavier than she expects. He gestures toward a desk near the window. "You can work here if you need to. Quiet, secure. The Wi-Fi's better than most law firms." A small laugh escapes her. "I might take you up on that." "Good," he says, pouring 2 glasses of sparkling water. "Just remember, you don't owe anyone your silence." That line hits like a revelation. For months, she's been careful not to make waves, to stay polite, composed, invisible. But maybe composure is a kind of prison. The conversation drifts to business. Julian mentions he's organizing a charity gala for the end of the month. Same circles, same expectations, but this time he wants it to mean something. "Would you consult?" he asks. "Off the record, paid up front." Hannah blinks. "You're serious?" "Completely." She hesitates, but the answer comes from somewhere deep. "Yes." Julian smiles, a small, knowing curve. Then we'll start tomorrow. When she leaves the Ritz-Carlton that evening, the snow has turned to rain, misting over the city. Hannah pauses under the awning, her reflection shimmering in the wet pavement. For the first time since the betrayal, she feels something almost impossible: relief. The world hasn't ended. It's just been rearranged. And somewhere above her, behind those glass windows, a man she barely knows has quietly decided he will not let her fight alone. The next morning dawns gray over Manhattan, the kind of muted sky that promises both endings and beginnings. Hannah wakes early in Lena's apartment. The city hums soft beyond the frosted window. She moves quietly, makes tea, and stares at the stack of folders waiting on the table, her new arsenal. She's ready. By 9, she and Lena are sitting in a cramped conference room at the family court building. Papers spread across the polished wood like a battle map. The air smells of old coffee and printer ink. Lena flips open a file. "Okay," she says, tapping her pen. "We moved today. Petition for marital waste, temporary occupancy, and injunction on joint assets. You're about to draw first blood, Han." Hannah nods, heart steady. "Let's do it." They hand the documents to the clerk, who stamps them with a loud thunk, an ordinary sound that somehow feels like thunder. When they step outside, snowflakes start to fall again. Manhattan looks softer than it should, as if trying to apologize for its cruelty. That afternoon, Hannah returns to the Ritz-Carlton suite Julian lent her, now serving as her quiet office. She sets up her MacBook, the same one Adrian once called a waste of money, and opens a new spreadsheet. She titles it Case Control. The baby kicks softly as if approving. Julian enters carrying 2 cups of decaf cappuccino. "Thought you might need this," he says. She takes one, smiling faintly. "You really didn't have to? Consider it part of your consulting fee," he replies. They work in companionable silence. Hannah reviews invoices, organizes photo evidence, and drafts a statement for Lena. The routine gives her power. Every document she files, every number she checks, it all takes her one step further from the woman who once whispered apologies to a liar. At 3 p.m., Lena calls. "Filed. He'll get served by tonight." Hannah exhales. "Already?" "Yeah, expect fireworks." She doesn't have to wait long. By 6 p.m., her phone buzzes. Adrian's number. She ignores it. Another buzz, then another. Finally, a message from an unknown sender. "You think you can humiliate me? This isn't over." Julian glances up from his laptop. "Bad news?" "Predictable news," she says, locking the phone and tossing it into her bag. He studies her expression. "You're calmer than I expected." "I've been terrified for months," Hannah says softly. "I ran out of fear." He nods, as if he understands more than he says. Outside the window, Park Avenue glows golden as evening falls. The city looks indifferent. Rich men still toast champagne in glass towers, taxis still rush through puddles. But Hannah knows something monumental just shifted. For once, she's not the one reacting. She's the one acting. At home that night, Lena is waiting with takeout sushi. "It's official," she says, raising a chopstick like a sword. "Cole v. Cole has begun." Hannah laughs, the sound foreign but welcome. "God, that's dramatic." "It should be," Lena replies. "He played dirty, we'll play smart." They clink water glasses like battle sisters. Before bed, Hannah writes one line in her journal. "Today I stopped being the victim." She slides the Mont Blanc pen back into its case, Adrian's old gift, now her weapon of signature, and turns off the light. In his penthouse across town, Adrian paces as his phone vibrates with legal alerts. His world, once untouchable, is starting to crack. And somewhere in between those 2 apartments, under the quiet Manhattan snow, a storm begins to turn. For the first time since he betrayed her, Hannah isn't breaking. She's striking back. By Monday morning, Manhattan hums with whispers. The story breaks before Hannah even finishes her breakfast. A finance blog, one Adrian has fed stories to for years, posts an article titled, "Pregnant Wife Overreacts, Cole Capital Partner Faces Personal Turmoil." The piece is cruelly polished, written to wound without sounding vicious. It paints Adrian as a hard-working executive navigating a delicate domestic matter, and Hannah as emotionally unstable during pregnancy. Lena bursts into her kitchen, phone in hand. "He's playing the sympathy card," she says. Classic gaslighting in print. Hannah's stomach twists. She scrolls through the article, her name highlighted in every paragraph. "He made me sound crazy," she whispers. "Like I lost control." "That's exactly what he wants," Lena says, pacing. "He's trying to frame you before the court hearing. Don't take the bait." Hannah nods slowly. breathing through the sting. She's used to silence, but public humiliation hits differently. It feels like the walls of Manhattan closing in, judgmental and unkind. Her phone lights up again, messages from friends, colleagues, even strangers. Some supportive, others cruel. You should have worked on your marriage. Poor guy, she's hormonal. Every word slices deeper. Julian calls mid-morning. I saw the article, he says, voice calm but cold. He just made a fatal mistake. How's that? She asks, trying to sound braver than she feels. Adrian turned your private pain into public evidence, Julian replies. Now it's defamation if you can prove intent. You have screenshots, timestamps, financial records. His narrative won't hold. Lena leans closer to Hannah's phone. We'll save that conversation for the courtroom. Right now, we go quiet. Quiet? Hannah echoes. Everyone's talking. That's exactly why, Lena says. Let them talk. We'll respond once with facts, not fury. That night, Hannah stays late at the Ritz-Carlton suite, reviewing notes for Julian's upcoming gala. Work becomes medicine. She focuses on light settings, floral palettes, menu coordination, details that remind her she's still good at something, still capable. While scrolling through the guest list, one name catches her attention. Bryce Maddox, the finance blogger who published The Smear. Hannah's heart races. He's coming to the gala, she murmurs. Julian looks up from his laptop. Interesting. Why? He's covering the event, she says, probably sniffing for gossip. Julian smiles faintly. Then give him something worth writing, but on our terms. Hannah frowns. What do you mean? Reputation is a game of patience, Julian says. You don't chase vindication, you stage it. She thinks about that all night. The idea of control, of narrative, of reclaiming her voice without shouting. The next morning, she meets Lena for coffee at a small cafe near Bryant Park. The winter sun hits the windows, warming her face. What if, Hannah begins carefully, we stop hiding? Lena sips her espresso. Meaning? I don't want to post a sob story, Hannah says, but I want the truth to exist, somewhere public, undeniable, but dignified. No yelling, no revenge, just clarity. Lena studies her, then nods. I can draft a legal statement, factual, emotionless, dated. Once the judge reviews, it becomes part of the record. It'll live online forever, unedited. That's enough, Hannah says quietly. That night, as she walks home past the Tiffany store on Fifth Avenue, the display catches her eye. A simple silver bracelet, almost identical to hers. But this one isn't trapped in memory. It shines freely under the spotlight. She smiles for the first time that day. Across town, Adrian scrolls through his phone, smug from the article's traction. He doesn't see what's coming. The quiet, meticulous woman he thought he'd destroyed is learning how to turn silence into strategy. And when she finally speaks, it won't be to defend herself. It'll be to end him. The noise of the city fades the moment Hannah steps into Lenox Hill Hospital again. The cold air hums with antiseptic and quiet concern. She's back in the same ultrasound room, the same soft light, the same doctor, Dr. Asha Patel. But today, something feels heavier. Asha adjusts the probe, and then the sound fills the room. Rapid, rhythmic, powerful. The baby's heartbeat. It's louder than before, echoing against the walls like a drum of defiance. Hannah swallows hard. Strong as ever, Asha says, smiling. You're doing great. Hannah nods, blinking back tears. He's still growing, even with everything happening. That's what babies do, Asha says gently. They grow, even when the world outside feels too heavy. Hannah lets out a shaky breath. The press won't stop. They're calling me unstable. Some of Adrian's friends are sharing photos of me at old events, twisting everything. Asha turns off the machine, resting a hand on Hannah's arm. Do not confuse noise with truth. They can shout, but they can't rewrite facts. The words settle inside her like medicine. Later that afternoon, Hannah walks through Central Park, bundled in a wool coat that barely closes over her belly. The winter sun glows pale, glinting off the frozen lake. She passes joggers, couples, and nannies with strollers. For a brief second, she imagines herself there one day, pushing a stroller, sipping Starbucks, laughing again. She stops at a bench and opens her phone. There's a new message from Julian. Gala confirmed. The board approved your plan. We'll make it unforgettable. She types back, thank you. I needed this win. He replies instantly, you earned it. For a moment, she lets herself smile. Not because she's healed, but because she's finally walking forward. That night, Hannah sits by the window in Lena's apartment, the skyline spread out like a constellation of unfinished dreams. Lena walks in, holding 2 mugs of cocoa. Doctor says the baby's good? Strong, Hannah says softly, like he's got his own rhythm. Then so do you, Lena replies. You just forgot how to listen. Hannah stares at the city, thinking about everything that's been taken and everything she's starting to rebuild. You ever wonder, she asks quietly, how people survive humiliation? Lena smirks. By making it expensive for the people who caused it. They laugh, but the words hit home. After Lena goes to bed, Hannah opens her journal. She writes, I want my child to know I didn't give up when it got hard. I fought with paperwork, not rage. I used the truth like armor. And someday, when they ask what strength looks like, I'll say, it sounds like this heartbeat. She plays the ultrasound recording again, the thump steady and alive. Across town, Adrian sits in his dimly lit penthouse, scrolling through a new draft of damage control his PR team prepared. We highlight your charitable side, one email reads. Play the devoted husband trying to win her back. He smirks. Perfect, he mutters. But karma moves quietly. His assistant forwards a message from compliance, another review of his corporate card use. We need clarity on the plaza charges, the note says. He doesn't notice how the walls are already closing in. Meanwhile, Hannah curls beneath a blanket, one hand resting on her stomach. The baby kicks, soft but firm. She smiles through tears. You're telling me to keep going, huh? She whispers to the night. We're going to be okay. Outside, snow begins again. Slow, deliberate, forgiving. And in that stillness, the city's gossip fades, drowned out by something far more powerful. The steady, unstoppable sound of life continuing. The message arrives on a rainy Tuesday evening. Adrian's name flashes across Hannah's phone. Please, one last conversation. No lawyers, just us, for the baby. She stares at the words, pulse quickening. Every instinct screams don't go. Yet something in her, the part that still wants closure, maybe justice, wonders if facing him might finally end this nightmare. Lena walks in holding takeout boxes. You're not meeting him, right? Hannah bites her lip. He said it's about the baby. Which means it's about control, Lena warns. You owe him nothing. But Hannah shakes her head. If I don't face him once, he'll keep calling, keep spinning stories. I need him to see I'm not scared anymore. Lena studies her for a long moment, then sighs. Fine, but public place. Daylight, and I'm tracking your location. So the next afternoon, Hannah arrives at the Park Hyatt Lounge. Neutral ground, polished marble floors, soft piano music. She wears black slacks, a beige maternity coat, and a calm expression that took hours to practice. Adrian is already there, sitting by the window with 2 untouched cappuccinos. His charm is polished as if he's rehearsed for this. You look good, he says. Pregnancy tends to show, she replies dryly, taking the seat across from him. He forces a smile. You've made things difficult, Hannah. Lawyers, public filings. Did you have to go nuclear? I filed the truth, she says evenly. If that's nuclear, maybe your lies were the real explosion. He leans forward, lowering his voice. You think anyone believes you? You've turned into a headline. You're embarrassing yourself. Hannah reaches into her bag and pulls out a small envelope. Inside, neatly arranged, are copies of hotel receipts, transfer logs, and the affidavit from Walter, the doorman who saw him bring Sloan into the building. She slides it across the table. This is what I'll present next, she says quietly. Not gossip. Facts. Adrian's jaw tightens. You think you can scare me with paper? No, she replies, sipping her water. I don't need to scare you. The truth does that on its own. He glares, his mask slipping. You've always loved drama. Maybe that's why you planned this pregnancy, to keep me tied down. For a moment, she just stares at him. You really believe that, don't you? He leans back, smirking. You've always been clever, manipulative even, but no one buys the innocent act. She places her hand on her belly, calm but fierce. I don't need anyone to buy anything, Adrian. I just need the judge to read the evidence. That wipes the smirk off his face. He stands abruptly, voice rising. You'll regret this. Hannah stands too, her chair sliding back across the marble. I already did. For 7 years. She turns to leave but pauses long enough to add, You said this was about the baby. He deserves a father who knows what accountability means. Let me know when you find one. Adrian's hand twitches like he wants to grab her arm, but she's already walking away. Every step feels like reclaiming ground she'd once surrendered. Outside, the rain has stopped. The air smells clean, sharp, alive. Lena's text pings the moment she steps onto the curb. Everything okay? Hannah types back, better than okay. He's out of moves. Back inside, Adrian sits frozen, staring at the evidence she left behind. His reflection in the window looks smaller now, cornered, unraveling. For the first time he realizes Hannah isn't waiting for closure. She is the closure. And as she walks into the cold Manhattan evening, the city feels different, like it finally knows whose story it belongs to. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom smells of fresh orchids and ambition. Crystal chandeliers glitter above rows of empty tables as staff rush to set linens and adjust lighting cues. It's the day before Julian Mercer's charity gala, a night meant to shine for the city's elite. For Hannah, it's something else entirely. It's proof she's standing again. She walks across the polished floor in low heels, clipboard in hand, her black blazer barely concealing the maternity support belt beneath. Every movement is deliberate. Her team, new assistants, borrowed vendors, familiar faces, watches her for direction. Table 8 needs to rotate 5 degrees clockwise, she says. The sponsor's logo must be visible from the press wall. A young lighting tech nods. Yes, ma'am. The title ma'am makes her smile. It's not condescension, it's respect. Julian appears near the stage, sleeves rolled up, phone tucked under his arm. You run this place like a general, he says. I prefer conductor, she replies. Generals break things, conductors make them work. He laughs softly, watching her with quiet admiration. Whatever the title, you're remarkable, and you're right on schedule. Hannah adjusts a floral arrangement and shrugs. Deadlines are easier than emotions. Spoken like someone who's survived both, Julian says. They take a break near the back of the room. He hands her a small bottle of water and leans on the railing. You know, he begins, when I first texted you, I wasn't sure you'd say yes. Neither was I, she admits. I thought accepting help meant I'd lost. And now, she looks out over the ballroom. Now I think accepting help was the first time I actually won. Julian studies her expression, careful not to cross any lines. You're building something again, Hannah. That's rare. Most people just survive and stop there. She meets his gaze. Maybe surviving isn't the goal anymore. The sound engineer calls for a test cue. The lights dim, music swells, soft piano mixed with string undertones. The atmosphere transforms instantly, glowing with warmth. Hannah's hand instinctively rests on her belly. The baby kicks once, as if approving. Julian notices and smiles. Seems like your co-director agrees. She laughs, genuine and free, and for a moment, the weight of her world disappears. As the rehearsal continues, Hannah checks details. The sponsor banners, the guest seating, even the temperature. Perfection, but not vanity. Control. Control she earned back inch by inch. Later, Julian signs a contract folder and slides it toward her. Here's your retainer for Leighton Atelier, he says. Hannah blinks. Leighton Atelier? He nods. That's what you called your company when you registered the domain last week, isn't it? Her mouth opens in surprise. You checked? Of course, he says lightly. You're my event director now. I like to know who's steering my ship. For a second, she can't speak. The name, Leighton Atelier, was something she'd whispered to herself late one night, dreaming of starting over. Now, seeing it printed on an actual check, she feels her throat tighten. Thank you, she says finally. Julian leans back. Don't thank me. You built this. I'm just giving it a stage. When the last staff member leaves, Hannah stands alone in the center of the ballroom. She looks up at the chandeliers, their light scattering like stars. In the reflection of the polished floor, she sees not a victim, but a woman rebuilding her empire. Outside, the city glows beyond the glass windows, Fifth Avenue alive, taxis darting, luxury humming. For the first time in months, she isn't afraid of tomorrow. She's anticipating it. Because tomorrow night, under those same chandeliers, the world will finally see her, not as the pregnant wife who got betrayed, but as the woman who refused to disappear. Morning sunlight cuts through the blinds of Lena's office, glinting off piles of legal briefs. Hannah sits across from her friend, a paper cup of coffee cooling in her hand. Her stomach presses against the edge of the desk, her baby moving restlessly beneath. She hasn't slept. The gala rehearsal was perfect, but the war off stage is far from over. Lena's phone rings. She listens, scribbles a few notes, then looks up. That was Walter Reed, the building manager. He's got something you'll want to see. Walter? Hannah frowns. From Park Avenue? Lena nods. He said the elevator footage from that night, your night, was finally cleared for release. He's willing to sign an affidavit authenticating it. Hannah's grip tightens around the cup. You're serious? As a heart attack, Lena replies, and he's coming by in an hour. When Walter arrives, he's bundled in a thick coat, smelling faintly of tobacco and winter. His hands tremble slightly as he pulls a small USB drive from his pocket. I shouldn't even have this, he says, glancing around nervously. But after what I saw that night, I figured you deserved the truth. Lena inserts the drive into her laptop. The footage loads, grainy, time-stamped, real. There it is. 4:03 a.m. Adrian and Sloane stumble into the elevator, laughing, kissing, her red dress bright even through the black and white feed. Sloane presses every floor button like a game, then wraps her arms around him as the doors close. The silence in the room feels like thunder. Hannah can't look away. Her hands tremble, but she forces herself to watch. She needs this, not as punishment, but as closure. Proof that she isn't crazy. Walter clears his throat. I can verify this came straight from building security. No edits, no gaps. Lena nods. Would you be willing to testify? He hesitates, then meets Hannah's eyes. For you? Yeah, you always treated people kindly, even us doormen. I can't say the same for him. The gratitude that floods Hannah's chest almost breaks her. Thank you, Walter, she whispers. After he leaves, Lena ejects the drive and slips it into a labeled envelope. This changes everything, she says. We have physical proof, not just receipts and rumors. Hannah exhales slowly. So what happens now? We add it to the case file. Once it's submitted, Adrian's attorney will see it. He'll panic, maybe reach out to settle. That's when we push for custody and property rights. Hannah nods, still staring at the blank screen where the video had played. I thought seeing it would break me, but it doesn't. It just ends the guessing. Lena smiles softly. That's the thing about truth. It hurts less than uncertainty. That night, back at her small apartment, Hannah can't sleep. The city hums outside, the neon glow flickering through the curtains. She pulls out her phone, opens the voice memos app, and hits record. Hey, little one, she says quietly, her voice trembling. I saw something today. Something that used to hurt me, but it doesn't anymore, because we're safe. We have proof. We have people who believe us. She pauses, hand on her stomach. I want you to grow up knowing that silence is never protection, it's a cage, and your mom finally found the key. She saves the recording, labeling it for River, January 23rd. Her iPhone screen glows soft and blue, reflecting her tired but peaceful face. She sets it beside her bed, next to the same Tiffany bracelet she once wore in fear, but now keeps as a symbol of endurance. Across town, Adrian's phone buzzes, a notification from his lawyer. New evidence submitted. You'll want to see this. He pours himself a drink, hands shaking. The sound of ice clinking in the glass is the only sound in the room. And for the first time, the man who thought he was untouchable feels the walls begin to close. Because the truth he buried at 4:03 a.m. has just come back to life, and it's not going away this time. The morning begins with sleet slicing across Manhattan, coating every window in silver. Hannah sits in Lena's office, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she hasn't touched. The baby shifts again, restless, like it knows something's coming. Lena scrolls through her email, expression tightening. You're not going to like this, she says finally. Hannah looks up. What now? Adrian's lawyer filed a motion, Lena explains. He's asking to regain access to the Park Avenue penthouse. Claims he has urgent business materials there. They want a judge to grant temporary entry. Hannah blinks in disbelief. Business materials? You mean his ego? Lena smirks, but doesn't laugh. It's a manipulation tactic. He's trying to make you look unreasonable, paint you as emotional, territorial. Hannah's shoulders stiffen. He cheated in that apartment, Lena. He brought her there. And now he wants to walk back in like nothing happened. Exactly, Lena says, flipping the laptop around. That's why we're not letting it happen. We'll counter with the footage plus Dr. Patel's affidavit confirming the stress risk of contact. Hannah exhales slowly, her voice low. I don't want him near me, not near the baby. Lena nods. You won't have to. We'll request that communication go through legal channels only, everything documented. The baby kicks hard, almost on cue. Hannah rubs her belly, whispering, We're okay. A few hours later, they're sitting in a cramped courtroom near Wall Street, the air thick with tension, and the smell of rain-soaked coats. Adrian enters first. Expensive suit, confident smirk. He looks like a man walking into a business meeting, not a hearing about his own betrayal. His lawyer, a silver-haired shark in a navy suit, carries a briefcase that probably costs more than Hannah's rent. Hannah keeps her gaze fixed on the wooden table before her, refusing to meet Adrian's eyes. Lena whispers, "Let him perform. We'll bring the facts." The judge, a stern woman with sharp eyes, calls the session to order. Adrian's lawyer begins, voice smooth as glass. "Your Honor, my client simply seeks brief access to his property to retrieve important business documents vital to his firm's operations. We are not here to escalate, only to restore fairness." Lena rises slowly. "Your Honor, the property in question is under dispute. My client currently resides there per preliminary occupancy order due to her pregnancy and medical condition. Allowing Mr. Cole entry would directly endanger her well-being. Furthermore, we have newly authenticated video evidence that places Mr. Cole in said residence with another woman during the marriage. His request is not about fairness, it's about control." The judge looks over her glasses. "Do you have the affidavit?" Lena hands it over. "Yes, Your Honor. From Dr. Asha Patel, attending OBGYN, it details the emotional and physiological risks of undue stress at this stage of pregnancy." The courtroom falls silent as the judge reads. Adrian shifts in his seat, jaw tight. His lawyer tries to interject, but the judge holds up a hand. "I've heard enough. Motion denied. Mr. Cole is to have no physical contact with Mrs. Leighton Cole until after the custody hearing. All communication to go through counsel." Hannah exhales a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. The gavel hits the desk. Court adjourned. Adrian storms out without looking back. Outside, the rain has stopped, but the air is thick with tension. Lena pats Hannah's shoulder. "That's a win." "It doesn't feel like one," Hannah admits. "It feels like survival." "Sometimes," Lena says, "those are the same thing." Later that night, Hannah sits by her window, watching the city lights blink through the mist. For the first time, she allows herself a small smile. Justice doesn't roar. It whispers. And in that whisper, she hears the first note of peace. Because today, she didn't just protect her home, she protected her future. The next morning breaks cold and bright over Manhattan, the kind of light that reveals everything. Every smudge, every flaw, every secret. Hannah is sitting at the kitchen table in Lena's apartment, a half-eaten bagel forgotten beside her laptop. She's scrolling through social media when she freezes. Sloane Hart's Instagram glows on the screen. A photo posted just an hour ago. Sloane, radiant and smug, is standing inside the Cartier boutique on Fifth Avenue, her wrist tilted just so, displaying a diamond-studded love bracelet. The caption reads, "When hard work finally pays off, blessed." Hannah's heart thuds, a mix of fury and disbelief. Hard work? She zooms in on the tag location, Cartier Fifth Avenue. The same boutique Adrian had once said was too extravagant for their budget. The same brand he told her was for women who needed validation. "Unbelievable," Hannah mutters. Lena looks up from the couch, sipping coffee. "What happened?" Hannah turns the laptop around. She's wearing the same bracelet he bought with the firm's card. Lena's eyebrows lift. "The one you found in those bank statements?" "Yep." Lena's expression sharpens. "Oh, this is gold. Financial misconduct, gift to a mistress, company funds. It's not just adultery anymore, it's fraud." Within minutes, Lena is typing furiously, attaching screenshots, timestamps, and receipts. "We'll forward this to the compliance department at his firm," she says. Quietly, no need for drama, let the system eat him alive. By noon, the dominoes begin to fall. At Cole Capital, Adrian walks into the boardroom confident, ready to reclaim control after yesterday's court humiliation. But something feels off. The air is heavy. The partners won't meet his eyes. His assistant barely says hello. Finally, the compliance officer, Diane, the same woman who had questioned him weeks earlier, enters holding a folder. "Adrian," she says coolly, "we've received a report regarding misuse of corporate funds. There are charges from Cartier, the Plaza, and the River Cafe. Care to explain?" Adrian stiffens. "That's absurd. Personal matters have nothing to do with the firm." Diane's tone is icy. "They do when the corporate card was used. We've launched an internal audit. You're on temporary suspension, effective immediately." His stomach drops. "This is ridiculous. Someone's setting me up." But Diane doesn't flinch. "Then you'll have your chance to clear your name. Until then, turn in your access badge." Across town, Hannah's phone buzzes. It's a message from Julian. He's off the board. Heard it through finance circles. Nice work. She stares at the screen in disbelief. Already? She whispers. Lena grins. Fast karma. Hannah doesn't celebrate. Instead, she leans back in her chair, one hand resting on her belly. It's not about revenge, she says softly. It's about balance. That night, she opens her laptop to review new event proposals for Leighton Atelier. The inquiries are flooding in. Word of her flawless Ritz-Carlton rehearsal has spread. She's being offered contracts, speaking invites, sponsorship opportunities. For the first time, she feels like her own name is enough. But as peace begins to settle, her phone vibrates. A new message. Adrian again. You think this is over? You ruined my career. You'll pay for this. Lena sees the text, grabs the phone, and sighs. That's it. We're filing for a restraining order first thing tomorrow. Judges love angry texts. Hannah exhales, nodding. He's unraveling. Outside, snow flurries drift past the windows, glowing under the streetlights. Hannah turns off her phone and closes her eyes. For the first time in months, she feels not fragile, but fortified. Every wound, every lie, every humiliation, it all led her here, to this moment of quiet triumph. And somewhere downtown, Adrian Cole, once powerful, untouchable, is watching his empire collapse, one Cartier bracelet at a time. Because the higher you build on lies, the louder it falls when the truth finally catches up. The Plaza Hotel shimmers like a diamond against the Manhattan dusk. Its chandeliers blaze through frosted windows, its marble lobby humming with chatter, laughter, and the faint clink of crystal. Hannah stands at the grand entrance, her reflection caught in the glass doors, the same woman who once waited here for a husband who never showed. Only tonight, she's not waiting. She's arriving. Julian's charity dinner is already the talk of the week. A perfect storm of power, prestige, and polished kindness. The event supports women's shelters across New York, a cause Hannah insisted on highlighting when she agreed to design the gala. Every detail bears her touch. The soft candlelight, the gold-trimmed menus, the pale rose centerpieces. For the first time since her marriage ended, she's back in her element. And this time, her name is on the program. As she steps into the ballroom, heads turn. Not because she's flaunting wealth. Her dress is simple, black silk that drapes easily over her pregnant belly, but because of her presence. Calm, steady, whole. Julian spots her across the room. He's mid-conversation with a senator, but excuses himself instantly. You made it, he says, smiling. Wouldn't miss it, she replies. He gestures around. You see this? You built it. Every camera in this room will mention your name tomorrow. She smiles softly. Let them. This time, the story's mine. The band starts playing, a slow, jazzy melody. Waiters glide between tables carrying champagne flutes. Hannah moves through the crowd, checking lighting, talking quietly to staff, greeting familiar faces. The warmth in people's voices surprises her. They're not pitying her anymore. They're respecting her. But then she freezes. Across the room, near the bar, stands Bryce Maddox, the finance blogger who published Adrian's smear piece. He's laughing with a few reporters, swirling his drink like he owns the room. Julian notices her expression. Pradin? That's the man who printed Adrian's lies, she murmurs. Julian tilts his head. Interesting, he's on the invite list as media sponsor. Maybe tonight's his redemption arc. Or his exposure, she says. Later, when the main course is served, Bryce approaches her, flashing a practiced smile. Mrs. Cole. Sorry, Miss Leighton now, right? Lovely event. I didn't realize you were still producing. Hannah looks him straight in the eye. You didn't realize a lot of things. He chuckles awkwardly. No hard feelings, I hope. You know how press works. Stories get shaped by sources. She tilts her head. And when the sources lie? He hesitates. Then a good journalist prints a correction. Her voice softens but cuts like glass. Then maybe you should start writing one. Bryce swallows hard, realizing she knows something he doesn't. At that moment, Julian walks up, all composed charm. Bryce, he says smoothly, I'd like to thank you for attending. You might want to stay for the closing remarks. Some enlightening information is being shared tonight. The blogger's smile falters. Of course. The final hour of the gala unfolds flawlessly. Julian takes the stage, delivering a speech about rebuilding, resilience, and truth. When he thanks Hannah publicly for her brilliance, professionalism, and courage, the room erupts in applause. Cameras flash. And sitting in one of the back tables, Bryce opens his phone to a tip that just hit his inbox. Cole Capital partner under internal investigation for corporate misconduct. His face drains of color. Julian leans toward Hannah, whispering, "I told you patience wins the game." As guests rise for the standing ovation, Hannah's eyes glisten. The chandeliers glow above her like blessings. For the first time, the plaza doesn't feel like the scene of betrayal. It feels like rebirth. Outside, snow begins to fall again, dusting the steps she once climbed in heartbreak. Tonight, she walks down them in peace. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't a fight, it's walking back into the place that broke you and leaving it whole. The day of the hearing arrives with gray skies hanging low over lower Manhattan. The courthouse, a fortress of marble and echoing footsteps, feels colder than usual. Hannah sits on a hard wooden bench outside courtroom 4B, her hand resting over the gentle curve of her belly. Her heartbeat seems to sync with her baby's, steady but fast. Lena adjusts her suit jacket, flipping through folders stuffed with evidence. Bank statements, witness affidavits, Walter's elevator footage. "You ready?" she asks. "As I'll ever be," Hannah replies. Across the hallway, Adrian stands with his lawyer, his arrogance dimmed but not extinguished. He's wearing his favorite navy suit, the one he always said made him look presidential. But now his tie is crooked, his eyes tired. The weeks of scandal have aged him. When the bailiff calls their case, both parties rise. The courtroom smells faintly of paper and rain. Judge Emerson, an older woman with sharp glasses and sharper instincts, takes her seat. "Let's begin," she says, voice cool and firm. Adrian's lawyer starts with a well-rehearsed monologue about family disruption and miscommunication exaggerated by social media. He speaks of Adrian as a devoted husband under stress, painting Hannah as an emotional spouse swayed by gossip. Hannah listens quietly, jaw clenched, fingers digging into her notebook. Every word feels like a slap. But she waits. When it's Lena's turn, she stands slowly, deliberate. "Your Honor," she begins, "we are not here because of gossip. We are here because of facts." She lays out the timeline. The Plaza Hotel receipts, Cartier transactions, the security footage from Park Avenue, and finally, Dr. Patel's affidavit about stress risk during pregnancy. The evidence lands one by one like quiet hammers. Then Lena nods to Walter, sitting nervously in the witness box. "Mr. Reed, can you describe what you saw the night of December 17? Walter clears his throat. "Mr. Cole came in around 4 in the morning with a young woman. They went up together. I saw them through the glass doors." "And you're sure it was him?" "Yes, ma'am. I've worked that building 20 years. I'd know his face anywhere." Adrian's lawyer jumps up. "Objection. Irrelevant to property occupancy." Judge Emerson waves him off. "Overruled. Continue." Lena smiles slightly. "Thank you, Your Honor. Irrelevant to occupancy perhaps, but crucial to credibility." The courtroom murmurs. Adrian fidgets, his mask cracking. Then Lena presents the final piece. "We submit this text message, Your Honor, sent from Mr. Cole to my client, threatening retaliation after she filed her petition." The judge reads it silently. "You'll regret this. You ruined my life." She sets it down. "Mr. Cole, is this your message?" Adrian hesitates. "It was." "Frustration, not a threat." "Frustration doesn't justify harassment," the judge replies sharply. The silence that follows is suffocating. Finally, Judge Emerson removes her glasses. "Here's my decision. Mrs. Leighton Cole is granted temporary sole occupancy of the Park Avenue residence until postnatal recovery is complete. Mr. Cole is restricted from direct contact and must conduct all communication through counsel. Financial disclosure will be ordered immediately." Lena squeezes Hannah's hand under the table. "That's a clean win," she whispers. Adrian's face hardens. He looks at Hannah for the first time, eyes full of something between anger and disbelief. But she doesn't flinch. When the gavel hits the desk, Hannah exhales like she's been holding her breath for years. Outside, the rain has stopped. The courthouse steps gleam wet under the afternoon light. Reporters linger nearby, sensing a story, but too cautious to approach. Hannah ignores them. Lena wraps an arm around her. "He's losing his grip," she says. "He already lost it," Hannah replies softly. "He just doesn't know yet." She looks up at the gray Manhattan skyline, heavy, endless, alive. Because justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, "You're free now." 2 days after the hearing, Manhattan seems quieter, as if the city itself is holding its breath. Hannah walks through Central Park in the early morning chill. one hand clutching her coat, the other resting protectively on her belly. The air smells like snow and burnt coffee. She's exhausted, but there's a calm beneath the fatigue, a strange, steady peace that only comes after surviving a storm. Her phone buzzes. It's a message from Lena. Check the ledger online. Hannah stops walking, thumb trembling as she opens the link. The headline hits like a gavel. Cole Capital under internal investigation for ethics violations. Below it, the subhead reads, Anonymous evidence reveals misuse of corporate funds, breach of fiduciary trust, and personal misconduct involving senior partner Adrian Cole. Her breath catches. The article is clinical, precise, no sensationalism, no gossip, just hard facts, screenshots, receipts, timeline. It's everything Lena gathered, everything Hannah lived through, now written in cold, undeniable ink. Julian's text comes moments later. He's trending. Don't read the comments. Just breathe. But Hannah reads them anyway. Thousands of strangers debating, sympathizing, apologizing, some cruel, some kind, but the tide has turned. The world finally sees the truth. By noon, she's at Lena's office. The windows are filled with the gray-blue of winter light. Lena's grinning. The blogger Bryce, he's the one who leaked it. Guess he wanted redemption. Hannah blinks. He exposed Adrian? Entire document trail, Lena says. Compliance confirmed it. He's finished. The words don't bring the satisfaction Hannah expects. Instead, she feels a deep exhale from somewhere inside her chest. The ache loosens, replaced by a softer emotion, closure. Still, her phone won't stop vibrating. Journalists, old colleagues, sponsors, everyone wants a comment. She ignores them all, until one message appears from an unknown number. We should talk. Privately. She doesn't need to ask who it is. Adrian? Lena looks at the text and shakes her head. He's desperate. Let him stew. Hannah nods but stares at the message for a long time before deleting it. No reply. No more giving him power. Later that afternoon, Julian invites her to the River Cafe for coffee, a quiet spot by the Brooklyn waterfront. The skyline glitters across the water, the city humming at a distance. Hannah sits across from him, steam rising from her cup. You did it, Julian says. He's out of the firm. His accounts are frozen pending review. I didn't do anything, she says softly. The truth did. He studies her for a moment. You know, Hannah, most people would have gone for revenge. You went for peace. She smiles faintly. Maybe I got tired of burning with him. Julian nods. What will you do now? She looks out the window, the reflection of the skyline flickering on the glass. Work. Raise my baby. Build my company. I want to design beauty again. I want to remind myself that something good can still come out of ruins. Julian leans back, admiration in his eyes. Then you'll do it. Because you already rebuilt yourself. That night, Hannah returns home to Lena's apartment. She takes out her Tiffany bracelet, holds it for a moment, then places it in a small velvet box labeled River. A keepsake for her child, a reminder that strength doesn't roar, it endures. As she turns off the light, her phone buzzes again. Not Adrian this time, but a news alert. Adrian Cole resigns, cites personal reasons. The world doesn't end, it just corrects itself. Outside, the Manhattan skyline gleams under a faint dusting of snow. Inside, Hannah whispers to her unborn child, it's over. Because sometimes victory isn't loud. It's simply the moment the truth stands and the lies finally fall silent. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom gleams like a scene from another lifetime. Gold light drips down from chandeliers, violins hum through the speakers, and the skyline beyond the glass windows glows against the night. Hannah stands near the back of the room, clipboard in hand, black dress hugging her growing belly, every detail of the gala under her control. Tonight isn't just an event, it's redemption in motion. The crowd is Manhattan's finest. Investors, philanthropists, socialites, even a few journalists. They chatter and laugh beneath the shimmer of crystal, unaware that the woman directing the show was once the subject of their gossip columns. Julian stands by the stage in a perfectly tailored tux, reading his cue cards. When he glances at her, she nods, the smallest of smiles passing between them. Ready? He asks softly. As ever, she replies. It's strange how calm she feels. No nerves, no shaking hands, just clarity. Every battle she's fought has led to this room. The music fades and the crowd settles as Julian steps up to the microphone. Good evening, everyone, he begins, voice deep and confident. Tonight, we gather not just to celebrate generosity but resilience, the power of rebuilding, of second chances, of truth. The audience listens, entranced. Hannah moves quietly around the perimeter, checking lighting cues. Her eyes catch movement near the entrance, and her heart freezes. Adrian. He's standing just inside the ballroom doors, suit impeccable but face pale, eyes bloodshot. He looks out of place here now, a man stripped of his armor. A few heads turn, whispers start to ripple. Lena, standing nearby, mutters under her breath, "What the hell is he doing here?" Hannah inhales sharply, steadying herself. "Let him watch," she says. "He can't hurt me anymore." Adrian pushes through the crowd, ignoring security's hesitant approach. He stops halfway across the room, watching the stage as Julian continues. "And tonight," Julian says, "we honor the women who remind us that strength doesn't always roar, it rebuilds." He gestures subtly toward Hannah. The spotlight shifts, landing on her for just a second. Applause erupts. Cameras flash. Adrian's jaw tightens. He starts to move toward her, but before he gets close, his phone buzzes. The vibration echoes faintly in the quiet pause between speeches. He glances down, and his face drains of color. The notification reads, "Cole Capital Board vote. Immediate termination approved." His hand trembles. Someone in the crowd whispers, "That's him, the one from the scandal." Another voice answers, "Can you believe he showed up?" Hannah sees it happen, the slow unraveling of his mask. For once, she doesn't feel pity, only distance. Julian finishes his speech with grace. "To those who've fallen and stood again, may tonight remind you, you are never defined by what broke you." The room erupts in applause once more. Adrian stumbles backward, bumping into a waiter, muttering something under his breath before storming toward the exit. 2 security guards follow, politely but firmly escorting him out into the cold Manhattan night. Hannah exhales, long and deep. The applause fades, and a slow melody begins to play. Julian joins her near the side of the stage. "You okay?" he asks. She smiles faintly. "Perfectly." He glances toward the exit. "That looked satisfying." "It wasn't revenge," she says softly. "It was closure." As the evening winds down, guests approach to congratulate her. "You're remarkable," one woman says. "You turned pain into art." When the last light dims, Hannah stands in the empty ballroom, the same one where her career nearly ended months ago. She looks around at the glittering remnants of a night that belongs entirely to her. Julian lingers by the door. "You did it," he says quietly. Hannah places a hand on her belly, smiling. "No," she corrects him. "We did." Outside, the city hums alive under falling snow. Somewhere in the distance, Adrian's footsteps fade into the dark, swallowed by the noise of the very world he once ruled. Because tonight, under the chandeliers of her own making, Hannah didn't just win, she reclaimed every piece of herself he tried to take. Spring arrives quietly in Manhattan. The snow melts into glittering puddles along Central Park West, the air smelling faintly of tulips and rain. Hannah Leighton, no longer Mrs. Cole, no longer defined by her pain, stands by the window of her new apartment, a small but sunlit space overlooking the trees. Morning light spills across the hardwood floors, warming the bassinet that sits near her writing desk. Inside it, baby Rivers sleeps, cheeks soft and pink. His tiny breaths fill the room with peace. Hannah moves gently, placing a vase of lilies on the table beside a framed document, the final divorce decree. Beneath it lies the first invoice from Leighton Atelier, her company now booked months in advance. On the corner of the desk sits her old Tiffany bracelet, glinting under the sunlight, a symbol of everything she's endured and overcome. Lena arrives mid-morning with coffee and a smile. "You're glowing," she says, handing Hannah a cup. "How's motherhood treating you?" Hannah laughs quietly. "Like the most beautiful exhaustion I've ever known." They sit together, listening to the soft hum of the city below. "The settlement came through?" Lena asks. "Yesterday," Hannah replies. "The judge approved full custody and child support under the revised agreement. Adrian's attorneys signed without contest." "Guess he's too busy rebuilding his reputation," Lena says dryly. Hannah shrugs. "He can have his image, I have my peace." They share a quiet moment, both smiling. The knock at the door comes softly. Hannah opens it to find Julian Mercer holding a small box wrapped in silver paper. He looks slightly awkward, as if unsure how to stand in her new world. "Congratulations," he says, "on everything." "You didn't have to bring anything," she replies. "I know," he says, handing her the box, "but I wanted to." Inside is a sleek, engraved Mont Blanc pen, the same brand Adrian once used for deception, now reborn as a token of creation. The engraving reads, "For the woman who rewrote her story." Her throat tightens. "Julian," he smiles, "you reminded a lot of people what resilience looks like, Hannah, including me." She looks down, emotional. "I'm not sure what comes next." "Whatever you want," he says simply. "And if you ever want help expanding the business, I know a few investors who owe you favors." She laughs softly. "I'll think about it." He waves goodbye, pausing at the door. "You don't need anyone to save you anymore. But you've built something worth standing beside." After he leaves, Hannah looks around her apartment. The books stacked neatly by the window, the baby blanket draped over the couch, the faint hum of life filling every corner. For the first time, she realizes that the silence she used to fear now feels like home. She opens her laptop and begins typing, her fingers moving with purpose. It's not a legal brief or a letter, it's a speech for her first independent event as a guest speaker, rebuilding after betrayal. The words come easily. She writes, "I learned that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's freedom. That silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. And that strength isn't loud, it's steady, patient, and kind." She stops, looks toward the bassinet, and smiles. "You'll read this someday, River," she whispers. "You'll know your mother didn't break, she rebuilt." Outside, the city moves on. Buses rumble, horns echo, sunlight bounces off skyscrapers. Life continues as it always does, but for Hannah, it's no longer rushing past her. She's walking with it, step by step, finally in rhythm. She picks up her new pen, signs her name at the bottom of the page, and sets it beside the Tiffany bracelet. The past and the future, side by side. Then she whispers to the sleeping baby, voice soft and sure, "We're home now." Because survival was never the ending. It was only the beginning of the life she chose for herself. So, that's how our story ends, my dear friends. You're still here, aren't you? If you made it all the way to this moment, it means something in Hannah's journey touched you. Maybe because, in some way, it's yours too. Life doesn't always give us justice right away. Sometimes it gives us silence, heartbreak, or empty rooms where love used to live. But like the Stoics taught us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Pain is real, yes, but so is healing. Hannah's story reminds us that strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about rebuilding, slowly, quietly, and with dignity. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Every betrayal, every loss can become the foundation of your next beginning, if you let it. So if you're walking through your own storm right now, breathe. You're not broken. You're becoming. And if this story stirred something inside you, let's keep walking together. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs hope tonight, and don't forget to subscribe. Because here, every ending is just another way of saying, you still have tomorrow.